film about? What's it really about? What genre does it hit? What is really being said? What's really being seen? That's what you're talking about.
Hello and welcome back once again to the Intermission podcast. My name is Nitin Sundar and today I am also known as Morpheus. And my friend Narendra Dodi, you must have guessed by now, is Neo, the one. How are you doing, Dodi?
I'm doing good. My eyes have just been opened. I've woken up. It's all gooey out here, but I'll learn. I'll download some software into my brain and learn soon. Good to be
And
back.
we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Absolutely.
We also have a special agent joining us today. It's Agent Smith. This is Barry on the Intermission. Not for the first time. For the first time as a live guest. Barry has, of course, guested with a voice recording on our one of our earlier episodes, and that also was a tribute episode. That was the Basha episode on Rajnikant's birthday of a couple of years back. But Barry is back on the show, this time as a guest. And Barry, of course, hosts a new movie podcast called the Film Exploder Podcast, and also maintains a website called thisisbarry.com where he explains movies with surprise twists, turns, mindbender movies, a very, very popular blog. Barry, it's great to have you on the show. And how are you doing, Barry?
Hello. Thanks for having me, guys. I've been following this podcast for a while now. So I almost feel like I'm part of it because every time I sort of listen to it, I feel like the other participant in the room. I sometimes end up speaking during the podcast. It almost,
You're being polite. What you mean is you've been yelling at us saying, "You fools, that's not what's happening."
That's not right. You got it wrong. Yeah, but whatever. Still,
It's not
it's
Baadu-shah.
compelling. I swear, I thought you would introduce me as Barry the Baadu-shah, but
Barry the Baadu-shah was
Missed
the correct
opportunity.
introduction that you missed.
Actually, Barry the Baadu-shah. That is the voice note that Barry is talking about. Please go back to our Basha episode, and it is actually it wasn't in the Basha episode. We added the voice note, I think, in the next episode, which followed. I don't remember which one that was. So listen to the Basha episode and then go to the next episode, and that way our listenership count also goes up. But great fun, great fun to have you on the podcast, Barry. And you mentioned that sometimes, you're sitting alone in your car listening to our podcast and you're thinking you're the third person in the room and having a conversation. All classic signs of knowing that something about this world is not right. Something just doesn't seem perfect.
something about the podcast is
Something.
not right.
Yeah. You've been living in a dream world, Barry. Anyway, I think
Tell that to my son.
Yes.
He doesn't know.
I think you know,
Does he?
or I think I told you before. So please introduce Barry's son. Barry, can you introduce your son?
My son's name is Neo.
Oh my God! I think you mentioned this. Yes, and
mentioned.
I forgot it. Oh man, we
Yeah.
should redo the intro
Not
now.
a
No?
nickname,
Dodi, you have
it's
to be
not a-
Smith.
Yeah, it's not a nickname. It's not a pet name. It's
Yeah.
on the passports, on the birth certificate.
Yes.
Everything.
Incredible.
So absolutely the right
Incredible.
person to guest.
So when we do have to scold him, we do refer to him as Mr. Anderson. When we really sit down and talk, it's like, Mr. Anderson, please sit down. It appears you've been living two lives. All kids, right? They're the sweetest things in school, and all these teachers have this, oh, such a nice kid and all that, and they come and become demons at home. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
But does he help the landlady with the garbage? That is a question.
it doesn't help nothing. He helps himself.
Yes.
Perfect. I think we've teased enough what this episode is going to be about. This year, one of the greatest movies ever made, Matrix, completes 25 years. And we thought, let's go back, rewatch this great movie and talk about it. So today's episode is going to be about The Matrix. Dodi, or Barry actually, Barry does this in the Film Exploder podcast, does this wonderful job of summarizing a movie in 1 to 2 minutes. And I really love it. And which is something we don't do on our podcast. We just jump straight in, assuming that people who have not watched a movie in many years would still be able to quickly get up to speed to it in their mind. But since we have Barry, why don't we leverage Barry's unique skills at summarizing movies? So Barry,
The
please tell us
Matrix.
what
You
happens.
want me to summarize the Matrix?
Actually, you don't have to summarize the Matrix, I guess. Everybody
Okay.
knows what it's about. So yeah, we can cut all of that out.
No one can be told what the Matrix is.
Yeah.
You have to see it for yourself.
Indeed.
In 99, right? This movie released for me just before college, or just that moment when we were joining. And the trailers were all over the place. The
Yeah.
movie I first saw it in college, but the trailers happened to release. And I don't know if you remember the trailers for this movie. The
Yes.
final line of the trailer was this dialogue: "No one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself." That was the smartest trailer I've seen till date.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, speaking of when you saw the movie, I would not be surprised if we watched this movie together as one of our
I am quite sure we watched it together.
So for the
But did you?
listeners, Barry was a junior of mine in college, 2 years my junior. That's how I know him. He's a close friend. But yeah, I think you had just joined college at that time, 99 summer it would have been. The movie released in March, but by the time it came to India, I'm
Yeah.
assuming it was later in the year. I would not be
Mhm.
surprised if this was one of the first movies that we watched together. First of many, many movies that we spent a lot of
That
time in Satyam theaters instead of
Wow.
in school or in college or in classes or whatever that may be.
yeah.
So tell
That's
us
pretty
about your
cool.
experience watching The Matrix for the first time, Barry.
So I think I saw it in the open air theater in college. So I didn't watch it in a closed room theater. So it didn't make a big difference from a sound point, is what I thought back then. Then later I watched the movie in a theater, and then there was such a big difference in what you were experiencing, because in the year 99 there was no other movie that was produced which had this kind of scientific music production that
Mhm.
went behind the scenes. Until today, I'm damn surprised it didn't even get nominated in the category.
Yes,
This
yes.
was the most scientifically sound music background score that was put together for any movie, right? But it wasn't. But other than that, yeah, everyone, like everybody else, every scene was mind blowing. What, within the first 3 minutes, we have Trinity jumping in the air with that kick.
Yeah,
It's 3 minutes in, 5 minutes in, she's jumping the roof, and you have no idea what's going on. The set design, the whole feel
Yeah,
of the movie is like you walked into another dimension. That's what it was. This movie
yeah,
just was like, I'm not in the year 1999 anymore.
yeah,
Changed up the whole game for everybody right after.
yeah.
yeah. I, by the way, didn't watch this movie in the cinema hall. I was still in school. I was in class 9 in 1999 when this
Oh,
movie came.
So
Yeah,
then, how did you
can
watch
you
it?
imagine? I think I watched it much later. I think almost a year later, maybe on either a video cassette or on TV on
Ooh,
HBO or one of those channels. I remember
ooh.
watching it at home after my brother Mithun, who of course you guys know, told me that I have to watch this movie. I don't know why I didn't end up going and watching this in the theater, but I never did. And when I watched it the first time, yeah, I was quite blown, and I watched it several times since then. 99, of course, a seminal movie a seminal year in Hollywood history, right? A lot of great films came out in this year. The American Beauty, um,
being John
October
Malkovich.
Sky, Notting Hill, Fight Club, Sixth Sense,
Being
I
John
think a whole bunch,
Malkovich.
being John Malkovich. Boys Don't Cry. Yeah, lots of fantastic films came out in this year, and I believe there is at least that people claim that it is the greatest year in Hollywood history. There's some pop culture commentary
Yeah,
around that as well. But yeah, what a movie! And it and we all rewatched it now, right? Like rewatching it now, the first thing that struck me is the movie has not aged at all. It This movie could release today and it would blow minds, right? It
Yeah.
would, and given the kind of advancements we've seen in the last 25 years, I think that is the biggest compliment you can pay to a film. And there are very few films that manage to do that. Like there are few scenes in Terminator, for instance, that make me feel like I could watch this today and still be blown away
yeah,
by it.
Yeah.
Matrix definitely is there. Yeah.
The recent watch that I did, and by the way, I watch it like once a month, even now. It just happens to show up. Uh, they had a lot of money crunches. It wasn't really greenlit that way. This was a big struggle to get out. And if you look at the scenes where we're in the real world, the CGI actually is faulty. It's not that great with the
Yeah.
the creatures walking around and the way things show up, right? It's mostly dark, right? It's easier to do CG with dark. They reserved all their money for
Yeah.
the Matrix shots. So they really
Yeah.
cut costs on the real world. So the real world in the movie looks fake. The Matrix looks like the real world that we can relate to.
Yeah, yeah.
Subversion.
It was a very, I think they, as far as I know, they didn't really have a very huge budget. It's actually a fairly cheap movie, by the way, 50 to 60 million, which is not a lot at all. This time, especially, I was noticing exactly the same thing that you can tell that there are a lot of scenes that look like they should be big, but they're just four people sitting in a room talking. Like even when the main conversation happens, right, with the pills and the no one
Yeah.
control and all that, it feels like a huge scene because it's raining outside. So there's all sound design with thunder and lightning outside, but it's just two people inside a nerd with two those chairs, that iconic Morpheus chair. He's sitting in that.
Yeah.
That's it. In fact, the biggest couple of scenes in the movie, in terms of production and number of people, and would have been expensive to shoot that one scene. One is the main shootout towards the end inside
Oh
the
yeah.
hall after the security
Yeah.
barricade. And the other is the chopper stuff that they do outside, where they're at least trying to fly with a stunt over places and drop both of them off and all of that. Of course,
Right.
half of the chopper stuff is also CGI because you're doing stunts. But
Yeah.
those are really the only two scenes that are expensive. Other than that, everything is bunch of people inside a room. You may have props, you may have whatever. I was like very carefully watching this time. There are no
Point. Yeah.
vast scenes of anything. The vast scene is of a white background in the Matrix. There's no vast desert of Mad Max or whatever. There are no vistas. There's no huge production. It's all very careful and, like you rightly said, Barry, very smartly saving your money for the money shot. You're like, okay, I have money and I have to make that bullet time work. I have to make these particular fights work. And I think with this we can get into the fact that I think a lot of the effort went into prep for the movie.
Oh yeah.
And this was probably the first or one of the earliest times that entire casts have gone through rigorous training and whatever else. Before, somebody in an army movie would go for 1 week to some boot camp training and then say, okay, fine, I know what it is to be like an army guy or whatever. But here they had like 3 months of martial arts training, and you do
martial arts
before so that it looks good on screen. You don't have to do more work later and all of that.
Yeah.
The first time they did that, do you know the story behind how Yoon Woo Ping, the guy who did all of the stunts, do you know how he came to join the movie? Because as we all know, Matrix, probably one of the earliest, everybody doing their own kung fu stunts and wire work, using wire work in Hollywood movies, whereas we've seen a lot of wire work and flying around in Hong Kong movies and Chinese movies for the longest time, but wire work in Hollywood for the first time. And the expert in that is this guy called Yoon Woo Ping, who is the known master of choreographing these scenes, working not just with martial arts, but also with wire work to make both of them work in sync. And the Wachowskis called him and said, dude, we want you to do this. And he was like, not interested, I have enough work here. They're like, no, we want you only. He's like, this Hollywood is useless. You guys won't let me do it properly, and then it'll be some shit stuff because you guys don't have the patience to train. Like, no, we want you only. So then he said, as a way to say no, he said, I will need 3 months of training.
Oh.
So he's like, there's no way you're going to get Keanu Reeves to sit in 3 months for this. Like, you don't have that kind of budget. Nobody has that kind of patience. Everybody's time is way more valuable than that. So he said it so that they would say, okay, fine, we can't, sorry, bye-bye. But they came back and said yes, and he was like, oh, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Now I have to do it.
Now I'm stuck. I gave one big condition. They said yes. Yeah.
From a cast perspective, really, Keanu was the only, and even Keanu at that stage wasn't an A-lister, right? And I think most of the rest of the cast are not really massive names. They're all popular names, but not big names, like Hugo Weaving, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Ann Moss.
Also not known in, at that point, I think Hugo was only known from your cricket movie, Bodyline.
Oh yeah, Bodyline.
No, but what you're saying, Keanu is like Andre Agassi in that sense. He would make one hit, and then for 3-4 years he'll put all nonsense flops. Then he'll make again another hit. Then he'll take
Andre Agassi.
keep bouncing up and down. So never consistently on top. but iconic
Correct.
movies. Point
Yeah,
Break,
yeah.
Speed, then like
Yeah.
flop for 2 3 years. Devil's Advocate came a little bit, but not at the level of a Speed. So that was
There was
Yeah.
Street Kings in between. Was that after or
that
before
was
that?
out after. That's almost
Yeah.
2006 or
Oh, okay,
7.
okay. Oh, sorry, Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny
It was
Mnemonic.
in a
All
very
nonsense
similar
movies.
space, but it was a nonsense movie. Yeah.
And
Matrix.
after that is just John Wick, right? Like after
Matrix
that,
also, and
even
Matrix to
after,
John Wick is a long
yeah,
break. Matrix to John Wick, there's
yeah,
nothing of value
and
and
there's nothing. Yeah,
long,
exactly.
long
In
break.
25 years,
Yeah,
yeah,
so he just like he chills off. He'll make one hit, then he'll chill off for some time, then he'll come back. This is
On
the
some
whole
yeah. He'll
local
wear
he's been
suburban
working.
train.
Yeah,
he'll wear random dumpy clothes and go in the metro, and there'll be viral videos of him leading a
Yeah.
normal life with his Buddha bowl or whatever. Yeah,
all of that.
cool
But yeah,
guy.
you're right. He wasn't very big. Lawrence Fishburne, well known, but not very big.
Yeah,
No, but the thing is, the casting of this movie is, I don't think it looks to me like a complete fluke that this cast came together, because they were literally looking at anybody and everybody to join this film.
yeah,
Everyone said no
Yeah,
or
yeah,
didn't have the time or whatever, and then you ended up with this cast.
and Wachowski
They
is
even
not
looked
known at
at
that point.
yeah,
say again?
Wachowskis are not known at that point. So for NB to say yes to them also, they had to
Yeah,
convince
yeah,
people in the room. There's no other way to. They had done a few indie movies, but they were not well
yeah,
known.
correct.
Today, if
Yeah,
Wachowski's call, anybody will drop everything they're doing and say yes, full schedule cleared for you. But back then, they had to
yeah,
convince people. And so
yeah.
that's
yeah.
also difficult. They went to,
Sandra Bullock and all was
yeah.
Will
looked at for
Smith,
Will
Trinity.
Smith. Will Smith almost signed on. I think I assume
Brad
the
Pitt.
reason Will Smith didn't sign on is because at that time he, if you remember, that was his phase of every 2 years I'll come, but I'll make like the most blockbuster movie that will always win.
Yeah, yeah.
He
yeah,
had that. There
And
was
he bet
this.
on Wild Wild West
Yeah,
to be that
unfortunately,
blockbuster.
yep.
yeah,
But it's weird how things work out, right? So
Yeah,
this is not the people they planned, and even for the female lead for Trinity as well, Carrie Ann was the almost, for all practical purposes, unknown. Between this and
correct.
Memento are the only two reasons we know her, and Memento is also technically a small movie. It's not some big budget
yeah,
movie. It's weird how you land up on these things. I didn't want to come up to this topic until later, but part of what the Matrix does also is we know now that the Wachowskis have gone from being Wachowski brothers to Wachowski siblings to now Wachowski sisters. They've come out as trans, they're living their lives as women. And it's very easy to see Matrix itself as a
yeah,
allegory for all of that, right? The life
Yeah,
the body you have is not the same as the what the mind is telling you that you should be living, right? It's a
yeah,
clear distinction between the real world Matrix and all of that. And partly, if you see the way even Carrie Ann Moss is styled, even Keanu Reeves for that matter,
exactly.
their faces, they're very androgynous actually, and they're styled very similarly also. And you
yeah,
Yes,
put Smith next to them, Smith, uh, what's his name, Keanu Reeves and uh, Carrie Ann Moss, you could take those faces and just keep playing around and morph in and out with very little difference, right? They
yeah,
all have similar
yeah,
shapes. They're all very
yeah.
androgynously shaped. They're styled
Mm.
also in that fashion. So it's sometimes it's just luck. Everything just comes together, right? This would have been a very different movie with a Will Smith and with Sandra Bullock or whoever else. It would still have
It
worked.
would have disappeared into the air. It would have just disappeared.
It would have been a fun
Everything.
action
This
movie and
movie
all
is a
that.
gigantic fluke in terms
Yeah,
of casting, in terms of a whole
many
bunch
ways.
of things just
yeah,
came
yeah.
together. The way the money came, the time they took to do things, and the way people agreed,
The way
broke
people
their hands,
accepted,
legs.
right? Movies like this kind of have come out. These stories are not new. The story is a reworked
Yeah.
standard story of, comic books and all have done this kind of story many times. It's not
Well, no,
particularly.
I mean, the whole concept of living your life in a,
I
I mean,
wasn't
yeah,
too
obviously
many.
it's a tech landscape that they've created, but leading your life as an avatar, right? I think this really was the first film that came up with the concept of an avatar in a
Maybe
virtual environment doing stuff,
digital
right?
world, sure.
This is a good time for me to bring in two movies in the same year.
Yes, you
And
bring up
one
one
movie
of
from
them.
the previous year that had the
Please.
exact same concept, and they got washed over by the Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh,
One
wow.
movie is called The 13th Floor.
Hmm.
Okay. So that has simulations and layers and stuff like that. And there was
Okay.
another one called Existence, Jude Law.
Ah,
Also layers,
making
also
up.
simulations.
Ah. I
Oh,
thought you were going to
okay.
bring up another one. Why didn't you bring
The
up
previous year was Dark City.
Dark City? is a lot like this. If you watch the story, it's about waking up. It's about a bunch of
Yeah.
people controlling the world. He wakes up, everything. Only
Interesting.
one
Yeah.
person is
Okay.
able to
Yeah.
jump the
He
reality.
can manipulate. Yeah. It's a
Here's the
lot of.
interesting part. Dark City, those rooftops and all are the same rooftops that Trinity is jumping
It
on.
is.
It's the
That's
exact
what I
same sets.
thought.
That was
Yeah.
an Australian production. They literally reused
Oh,
sets from Dark City.
I
in
know.
fact,
Yeah.
you mentioned the similarity with Dark City. I just went and checked out the 13th floor. Their poster has green lines running from the top to
Yeah.
bottom. So
Same year.
looks like,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder what it was in the air at that time. Maybe it was the Y2K bug, and Hollywood was like, oh,
Digital.
we're all going down anyway. Let's quickly
Yeah.
leave some traces in pop culture history for what we once were before the computers kill us all.
Yeah. It was the first time the
And there
idea of
was.
technology can possibly destroy us because people are scared of Y2K. Remember, there's 3-4 years of
Yeah,
Y2K.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my God, the world will shut down. So that
yeah,
taken to its extreme of technology, if it's a villain, what
Yeah.
happens? And of course, you
Yeah.
also had Terminator and all of that running for a while. So the idea of technology being a villain is not itself a new idea, just this particular way in which they did it. But there's also, I wanted to say, was audience accepting as well, right? At some point, something clicks and audience also wants to accept this. And they
Yeah.
did the cool things of Kung Fu and wire work and all of this fun stuff with special effects, with bullet time
Yeah.
and all that. Uh, Everything just somehow worked.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, there's this lady called Sophia Stewart. Have you heard of her? She's written a book called The Third Eye.
Uh,
And she's claimed that she's the author of this, both the stories, The Terminator and The Matrix.
oh, wow.
And her claim is John Connor is Neo. That's her storyline.
Oh,
And she published it in 1981 or 1983 or something like that.
hmm.
This book.
Oh,
Yeah. There
now
was
I
a
have to read
court
this.
case and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
wow.
she still fights the good fight.
Hmm.
The
Have you read the book? Is it
studio is
good?
obviously. I've not read it.
Okay.
I don't know where to get it.
I'm waiting for the movie to be made. Imagine a movie that combines Matrix and Terminator, time traveling agents
Yeah,
in
everything,
AI.
right? Yes.
How was the
But
time?
yeah, poor thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if the studio screwed her over, okay? Because her claim is she actually won the lawsuit and she was paid money also. It's not,
Ah,
and she's on her site, she's put up proof that, this was, I was given my due and all. But after that, the smear campaign and stuff started. So I wouldn't be too surprised if the studios did that to her.
I think we should talk about what Matrix introduced into the lexicon, right? Both movie lexicon as well as at a broader level, even just the way we speak. The term red pilling, for instance, right, which has been hijacked, of course, by the alt-right
Yes.
to mean something else altogether. And that's just one of the many things, right? Even small things like, I mean, how stylish those phones looked. The movie was made at a time before mobile phones really became popular, right? And a lot of the phones they used to travel in and out are actually wired telephones from the telephone booths.
Yeah.
But that phone that Neo gets in the FedEx, which is a Nokia
Yeah.
phone that goes, I'm
That
sure
stands out.
somebody should do the math on how many of those phones actually
Yeah.
sold just because of this film and that one moment where that phone just, opens up like that. And then, of course, the wiring, and the whole walkie. I think it became cool to be seen with walkie-talkies or to be, muttering something as you're walking with a wire, with a Bluetooth headset. I think even Bluetooth headsets didn't exist back then. But whatever
Nothing
wire
existed. You realize most people didn't have computers in their houses, in India at
Absolutely.
least.
Yeah, yeah.
PCs, few people had email addresses, people had created the year
Nobody had.
before, like with Yahoo
Yeah,
and all. And
yeah,
with all that kind of a background that people come
yeah.
from, and then you walk into a theater to experience this.
And since we already spoke about the journey that the Wachowskis went through as people, there was, I think we mentioned this in one of our earlier podcasts, Dodi, where Elon Musk used the term red pilling for what it has been appropriated to mean. And I think Lana or Lily
Oh, no,
responded
no,
to
hold
it.
on. There's one more piece to that.
Yeah.
What
It's
happened?
Musk was in an argument with Ivanka Trump, and they
Oh,
were
yeah, of course.
claiming red
Exactly.
pilling. And then
Yeah.
one of the Wachowskis jumped in, and I don't know if you remember the quote. I don't remember the quote. So if you remember,
No.
Yeah, just shut the fuck up or something of that kind,
both of you
basically.
fuck off. This is not. I don't
Yeah, both of you fuck off.
take it back. She jumped in like, fuck both of you. It lends itself to that also, right? The way the story is written, the
Yeah.
idea of waking up to a truth and we are all sleeping is an
Yeah.
idea that any thought process can take.
True. Yeah.
Whatever alt-right men's activists can also take the same thought process of, oh, the government is feeding us bullshit. There's like transmitters in the whatever, everything is being heard, and the food has got drugs in it.
The water is contaminated.
Yeah. So you can take anything to that extreme
Yeah.
and read it for yourself. It's just a how do you put this? It's a language or a format that can be applied to. It's a design overlay that can be applied to any kind of philosophy if you want to apply it. So that's on the one hand makes it extremely malleable and relatable. On the other hand, means it's open to some amount of misinterpretation and misuse and appropriation as well.
So the exact tweet thread is first Elon Musk tweets in general, take the red pill. And this is to his entire audience. Ivanka Trump, this happened by the way in 2020, so May 2020 during COVID. Ivanka Trump then quote tweets this, taken, like take the red pill. Yeah, I've taken, so taken. Lily Wachowski responds to Ivanka Trump's tweet with, fuck both of you. End of. Yeah, that's the conversation.
So you can imagine how much Neo happens in our house, right? We're constantly yelling that name at least like 10 times every second. So with those like how it's become part of our vocabulary, there are so many times that Neo wants a spoon, right? I can't help but say there is no spoon and go get it from the kitchen or something. When there are mornings when, he's refusing to go to school or something like that, I'll be like, Neo, I can only show you the door. You're the one that's going to have to walk through it. So for me, it's life now. Yeah.
One thing that really fascinates me, has fascinated me over the years and fascinates me even more now when I rewatch the film, is how this film sort of preempted where the world was going to go without literally knowing it, right? If you watch The Matrix now, the concept is that tech has taken over the world, AI has taken over the world and has sort of pulled the wool over the human race, keeping the human race distracted in order to meet its own ends, right? By using human beings, quite literally by using human beings as batteries, right? Now, if you look at where we have gone with the world, even small things like, human beings entering CAPTCHA codes, for instance, which is being used to make the algorithms better.
Hey, you're pulling in some leftover lasagna stuff here. Cross episode.
Not exactly, because actually nowadays CAPTCHAs are not being done for that purpose, right? It's not anymore to build maps, but it's more to just check whether you're behaving like a human being. So it's more it's more being used for that reason. But even other examples, right? Just look at us being hooked to social media, for instance, or Netflix, to the algorithm, right? The fact that there's something called Netflix now, where we sit for hours together and it's actively trying to not let us go to sleep and instead say hooked to that platform. Or look at a TikTok or look at Reels, look at basically any manifestation of big tech in our lives. It's basically there to keep us hooked and distracted while it monetizes our attention, right? Which is, in a sense, the way it's extracting the juice. In the movie, it's extracting juice to keep the machines alive, but now it is this.
Correct.
Meanwhile, it is giving us this Insta life that we want to live and show off like we've got a great life or whatever else, which is like the fanciness of the Matrix, while our real life is whatever.
No, so the funniest subversion of this is, so Insta and Reels and Netflix are at least human generated content, right, to an extent. So it's at least humans who are co-opted into the machine, who are creating the illusion around you. If you look at what has happened in the last couple of years with ChatGPT-3, right, and with generative AI, it is not even human beings who are involved anymore in creating the story, right? You enter something in Google and sometimes the hallucination that ChatGPT-3 throws out can be very funny.
Not sometimes, it's every time.
Every time, right? But it is getting better in the process, and it's getting tougher and tougher to say when it is hallucinating and when it is not. But basically, it's an altered reality in which we are leading our lives while we are getting monetized and exploited, right? So, and it's funny, right? And this really hit me the most recent time I watched the movie. It's not something that struck me, because it's been at least 3-4 years, I think, since I last watched The Matrix. But
especially with Gen Z, which is the sort of the generation born straight in. I call them the generation that was born into the matrix because they're
Yeah.
born into social media. They did
Yeah.
not know a life before social media.
Yeah.
So for them, social media is the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything about it, being on it, having your followers. I know Black Mirror did an episode on that, but
Yeah.
this is this is exactly what the movie was talking about. And here we are, the folks from Zion, the last few, standing and looking, going, no, you guys are in a prison. You need to
Yeah.
snap out.
No, but my argument is, are we even the people in Zion? Because actually, we are the batteries who have not even been freed up, right? We are still in search of our Morpheus. Morpheus needs to come and unplug us. We are all like, I believe that we are part of
I
the
I
battery
I
factory.
feel we're the semi halfway between, right?
Halfway.
We're the last generation.
Yeah.
As I call us, I call us the 90s kids, meaning
Yes.
you're not babies in the 90s, you were kids in the 90s. And we
Yeah.
saw life before the computers, we saw life partially before television, cable, everything. And half of our life was then, social media. So we are also hooked, but not to the extent. At least we weren't born straight into it. We don't define our reality based on our views. We don't define our realities based on our followers. They do. So many of them do, and they get into a lot of trouble because of that.
They do, they do. But to play
Manipulation.
devil's advocate to that point, right? If you look at the people who are most addicted to tech and social media and WhatsApp specifically, it's our parents. At least
Boomers, yeah.
it's their generation, right? So I don't know if the fact that you were born at a time before all of this came makes you immune or inured to it. Obviously, there needs to be some level of awareness because otherwise you can get fully sucked whole into
yeah.
this thing. But
For sure.
my
I think
son,
that generation has been fooled. The younger generation has been sucked in or born into it. The older generation has been fooled into it, so to speak,
Yeah.
where they don't know that half of this stuff isn't real. They
Yeah.
actually take it at face value. We are the ones who are suspicious in the middle, but we are going to die out.
you're
very
right.
soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
right.
We are
And very soon it
few
won't
in
matter.
number. Yeah.
You know, actually, I know this is digressing a bit, but I have a lot of hope from the youngest generation. So, and I'm looking at my son now. We live in Dubai, right? So, part of it's compulsory in school that kids bring an iPad to school, right? And you can eye roll at that. I'm still eye rolling at it. It's been a couple of years now, but that's because a lot of the pedagogy is actually tech enabled and tech driven, right? So all the assignments are given on the iPad, everything, and a lot of it is also gamified, by the way. So you do X, Y, Z, you complete this quiz, and you get 5 flourish points, and you move up a leaderboard. So all of that is baked in.
It's great for the eyes, I hear. Like, wonderful for the eyes.
Yeah, that's the part that scares me the most. My son is already wearing glasses, but they have a point in the sense that if you look at ourselves leading our lives now, the amount of screen time we are getting, right now I'm looking at 2 screens. I'm watching cricket on the side while we are doing this right here. So what exactly are we protecting our kids from? Because this is the world they're going to go into very soon.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're not going to take a pen and put it to paper at work, because when is the last time we did that? we type out or voice note out whatever we need to get out there. So their point is, this is the world, and we want kids to be ready for this world. I mean, no point delaying this to them. And there are obviously a lot of pluses as well, right? There are like coding activities, art activities, like stuff that you can do on an iPad, which you can never dream of doing outside of it. My point is the fact that these kids, at least this generation, newest generation, is growing up with tech means they have a far healthier relationship to it. And it's not just a dopamine led relationship, which I think the previous generation of kids, maybe, the current teenagers and older, probably suffer from. But yeah, sorry.
As the non-parent between the three of us, I do think that tech is meant to be a tool.
Yeah.
Obviously, tech can overtake and all. That's what we're talking about here. But at its basic, it's meant to be a tool, and that's exactly where it should be used.
Yeah.
And I feel not allowing your kids to use or get used to tech is only potentially handicapping them for later. You might as well be as comfortable as possible. Everybody else is going to be living on it. So that's the way life should go. Barry, you were showing something, and I think
No, I was showing the fact that I still use a book.
Yeah. You also asked, you said before.
pen, paper. Okay. Yeah, old school. But even I've started taking notes on my phone only now. I don't really do paper notes anymore.
I, by the way, open Gmail. I open a draft email and I type out whatever I want to that. So even this, right now I have a draft that's sitting open. So
I've not gotten used to a notes app or whatever. All my notes are in drafts.
this post somewhere, or there was a comment thread somewhere saying that did you guys feel the clothing in the Matrix
Hmm.
has aged badly with all that leather and the whole
Oh, okay.
glasses and things, right? The question was, has it aged badly? And a
Uh-huh.
lot of people were quick to jump in and say yes. You know, it
Oh,
looks silly if you look at it today, right? There were a lot of people because they were younger folks. I'm getting.
uh,
Yes.
I actually think it is timeless to an
yeah,
extent. But there is this the scene where they go to meet the Oracle, where
Yeah.
Morpheus has a tie, and it's a very bright
Correct.
colored tie, if I remember right. Very odd.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
that scene, it probably looks a little over the top, but then he also explains why exactly they look and dress that way and their hair is a certain way, right? It's a digital projection of their imagined self or whatever that he says.
Actually, that entire Reddit or whatever that thread had missed the point of
Yeah.
this clothing in the
Yeah.
Matrix. If you were a game player and if
Exactly.
you had to create avatars, see, me and Dodi have gamed like nuts. You
Yeah.
look at our avatars, they're going to look hideous and ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's your avatar, right? That's what
Yeah.
you would do. You have the flexibility to do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
It's like your totem. You're telling yourself you're in the dream because you've
Yeah.
dressed outrageously cool. No one looks like that in Zion, right? Everyone's wearing toned clothes and looking normal. So I think the extent to which they went and did the whole
Thought about
we will build
sleekness
glasses
and
for everyone's faces was done intentionally to show that it
Yep.
was not a real world.
Yeah.
You use the words totem and dream, so I cannot but hold back and bring Nolan into this. But I only realized when I watched it for the recentest time that Mr. Anderson wakes up from the same dream 3 times in the opening sequence of the film. It
Say that again.
he wakes up 3 times. So he wakes up the first time and sees the message on his screen and goes out and sees the girl, the rabbit thing. And then he goes to work the next day, right? No,
And they
no.
arrest
He goes
him
out. He
and
goes out with that group, and that's
Oh.
when he sees Trinity. Trinity comes and speaks to him in his ear, right? Then after that conversation, he again wakes up from a dream, and it's morning. He goes to work, where they come and catch him, and they
Right.
put
Yes.
the thing into his
Yeah.
body, and then he wakes up
And
a
then
third time after that. Yes,
that invasion, he wakes up again.
which is when
Because
he
he's
then
too-
goes, and waits for the car pickup, and then goes and actually meets Morpheus.
The reason they show him waking up again and again is because of that thing that don't you feel, I don't know when I'm awake, when I'm
Exactly.
sleeping. He's having trouble accepting the Matrix.
Yeah.
That's why they particularly show that scene of him waking up again and again.
And so when I saw this, I thought these are dreams within dreams within dreams, and finally you come out with the live layer.
Oh.
Except they put the googly in there, which is that worm that gets planted into his stomach is removed.
Right.
So he actually wasn't dreaming the second thing, right? It is at least a mind virus of sort that was put into his head. I thought this is a movie that Nolan probably would have been very proud to make. And I don't think there are too many movies you could say that about, right? Because
Nolan was proud to make Inception. If not
I'm
for the
sure.
Matrix, I'm willing to bet that 10 years later we did not get Inception.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
very possible.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
This, not just that, right? This movie changed it up even for the immediate films that came. Think about Charlie's Angels. They did the same fight sequences. They got Prodigy. They got music that resembled the fight sequences here. There was, have
Yeah.
you seen Equilibrium?
Yes.
seen,
he
yeah,
could.
Eon Flux.
And to yeah.
Everyone was influenced by this
Yeah.
film. This changed the benchmark for, okay, action film means it has to look like the Matrix now.
But Barry,
Or
know that
few people would say
Even in
we have to
Bollywood, have you
deliberately
seen that?
not do what the Matrix is doing.
how many Indian movie heroes have jumped and landed on one leg with one knee up and their hands out, the way Trinity lands in that when she jumps, or one of the agent lands right on with the spread eagle pose in Shivaji in the final climax fight, right? So Motta Rajni actually does that jump, and one of the many. That's one of the one that comes to my mind. You mentioned that. Full on, right? You mentioned that action movies got inspired by the Matrix, but in Tamil cinema, in the middle of a song, you had the motion capture thing happening.
Egiri Kuditsen.
Egiri
Yes.
Kudichen, exactly. With the whole camera thing going round and round around Siddharth and Genelia. I remember before that movie released, there was some interview or something that Shankar was giving. He said, "Oh, this technology we brought from Hollywood. It has only been used once before in the whole world, and that was in the Matrix." And we're like, "Wow, this is going to be some killer max scene, and it's a song. Do it."
I just want to bring up a couple of things still in the space of what it meant outside and the allegories and all of that. Do you know that Switch,
Oh,
the
yeah.
character Switch?
I was going to talk about that too.
Okay.
So one of the ladies in the Nebuchadnezzar team is called Switch.
Our way or
reason
the
that
highway
name
is Switch,
was-
right? She's the one who says
Yes.
our way or the highway.
Yes,
And
yes.
Yes. Yeah, not like this. Yeah. So her name was Switch because she was supposed to be in the real world a female and in the Matrix a man.
Yeah.
No, I thought that sort of mimicked or that sort of resonated with what the Wachowskis were going through at the time
Going
because
through. So they were trying to do that. So that would have been a very obvious, like the most obvious way of thinking about things. Which is, by the way, at a surface level also, so many gamers have female avatars. Where half the warriors in whatever
sure,
League of Legends and this and that are female avatars. So anyway, it's there really in the concept of having an avatar. But yeah, studio pushed back and said, no, this is too like.
Studio said, "Get lost. The film is already confusing as fuck. You're not doing this. Like already people won't get it. So now you don't introduce two characters and we have to watch two of them die." Like,
Last thing I want to say on this male, female, and the trans thing is anybody remembers the absolute last shot when
He flies.
No, when's that system failure?
just before
that
the
is the
conversation
last scene.
on the phone.
Just before the phone
Just
call?
before his phone call. Yeah.
Okay, fine. The camera zooms in on system failure, right?
Yeah.
It goes all the way into that digital rain, into the green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
System failure, MF, male and female. And it goes right through the middle of those two.
Oh, or is it motherfucker?
Oh. Because Samuel L.
Subliminal
Jackson was
message
originally
delivered
going to play
25 years
Morpheus.
in subliminal message delivered by the Wachowskis 25 years in advance to Elon Musk, much before he even posted that tweet.
Correct. So it goes straight through.
I, by the way,
between
I didn't understand the ending. As in, I understand what's happening, but I thought it was quite lame. Like, who is he talking to? Why? I will show them.
Morpheus explains, in the movie, Morpheus explains that there is a single consciousness that resulted in the Matrix. So he is talking to that single consciousness.
Correct.
Fine, sorry.
So he's talking to
the
AI.
maker of the Matrix, or whatever governs the Matrix. He's talking to that single consciousness because Morpheus explains that this is what happened.
He did. No, I understood it. I found it a bit lame that he was suddenly talking to the AI collective, which is what it is, saying what he's going to do. And then he flies. It's
We've
like,
not seen so far as a thing. We've only seen the agent. We've not seen the collective.
we've never actually seen the collective, right? But I also thought it was a bit underwhelming. He just flies out and, it didn't give me the high that I wanted. I thought the movie already had its high, by the way. When he goes into Smith and explodes him, I thought that was pretty cool.
I think the high in the movie was the slow motion when he hangs the phone and walks out. Even if he didn't fly and they just cut to credits after he wore his shades, that would have done it. Because with Rage Against the Machine playing in the background, that was enough.
Yeah.
It's a hat on a hat. They overextend the thing a little bit.
Yeah. That was good though.
I feel it still works, but fair enough. It overextends just a little bit. I wanted to bring up one funny little dialogue where when he's training and all that, everybody comes to watch. Morpheus comes to him. Morpheus comes to that the guy who's doing the training, Tank or whatever, and says, "How's he doing?"
Yeah.
And he says,
"He's moving very fast or whatever, right?"
10 hours straight.
10 hours straight. He's a machine.
Yeah.
All the things to say, he's a machine. Very
all the things.
And the other thing I noticed very funny, there are a bunch of times for this world where you have Zion and you have everything else. There's a bunch of times where they exclaim, "Jesus Christ, he's going super fast," or "Jesus Christ."
Even when he takes the bug out, right? Jesus Christ, that thing's real. Yeah. So like,
So for him, it's okay. When he's in the Matrix and the bug is coming out, that's fine. Potentially, he's living in a Matrix
oh,
world.
till then he's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody
You're
else
right. You're right.
outside, you see
But
the first fight also when both of them are fighting,
Huh.
the people are like, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. I'm like, are we supposed to think that religion exists outside the Matrix in this world also?
In the year 2199. Yeah.
But it does, I mean, I do sense that the film suggests that they're still very much religious, right?
Fully,
and
right? You
I
scared
mean,
yeah,
the
religious.
bejesus out of me.
the city is
Yeah.
called Zion to start with.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's
And if you look
definitely
at the
religion.
overall
No, but
prophecy,
There's Christianity.
you're believing in
Yeah.
an oracle, you're believing in
Yeah.
one savior rising from the
Yeah,
ashes.
yeah.
The entire
Yeah,
story
yeah.
is, in that sense, biblical.
Yeah, no, it's religious for sure. Just
Yeah.
that, is it like Christianity religious because you keep saying Jesus Christ, or is it just an exclamation in that world? Was an interesting way to think.
I think the people who use it have been recently using it. It's been 9 years since, say, like Cypher used that phrase. So why would he change the way he spoke? Because he's
Oh,
been living in Zion for 9 years,
yeah,
right? He's still going to speak like the majority of his life, which he
yeah,
spent
yeah.
in the
they all know.
Matrix.
Correct.
How would
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
I don't know if Tank or Dozer use this phrase because they're born, brought up in
They're
Zion.
born there. They're
I
true
don't know,
blood.
they use this.
I
And they're
feel,
very careful, okay? This movie, they're not a lot of mistakes that way. They're very
yeah.
careful in who use what.
It's quite
Oh.
possible.
But I see no reason why religion wouldn't exist within the
No, religion exists. That's fine.
born in the Matrix, born
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Zion, people living in the Matrix, etc. All of them. So, but
The other thing, the training sequence, when they both are fighting in the training sequence, everybody comes and watches and they're cheering and all that and starting to take bets. That's your standard trope, right? Even for me, it reminded me of the Top Gun Maverick when he finally flies and everybody's like cheering at the screen. He does the run and all of that. You always have that one situation where within the movie, everybody has to acknowledge that the hero is the hero.
Yeah.
of course,
Yes.
Right?
yeah.
Here's a question. He starts training and he says combat training. He sees combat training and he says jujitsu. I'm going to learn jujitsu, and he
Yeah.
winks at him. Then 10 hours straight and everything, he gets up and says, I know kung fu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your take on that? What do you think happened there?
Uh,
Starts off saying, I'm going to learn jujitsu, and then he gets up saying, I know kung fu.
in the taxonomy of martial arts,
This
jujitsu
is the
and
question.
kung fu are at the same level, right? Or I don't know. I'm asking you guys. Like karate, kung fu,
Dodi.
jujitsu are all broadly in the same level, or is jujitsu one level higher? I don't know.
Jiu-Jitsu is not a level higher,
Huh.
but
It's
I
a
think,
different country. If
yeah,
you
it's a
look
different
at it.
country and a different thing.
See, on the screen,
I-
you see jujitsu, you see drunken boxing, you see
Drunken boxing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think these are all modules. These are all
learning all the styles.
modules
Yeah.
that are
You
getting
know
downloaded.
what Neo means? Dodi, you know what Neo means when he says that? See, there are no mistakes in the dialogues. Huh?
Yeah. Okay,
what-
tell. Is he
There is
combining
something.
everything?
Kung fu is not a fighting style.
Critical.
Kung fu is the art of learning. Kung fu
Ooh.
literally means the art of learning. So when he says I know kung fu, he says I have learned how to learn.
Okay, I've become like
That is what it is.
generative AI. I've become generative AI.
My
Yeah.
goodness, that blew my mind. Wow.
We've been using kung
I
fu
had
as
trouble
a-
with this for a long time. I couldn't sleep, like until I found somewhere that kung fu is not
What do
it's
you
not a
think it-
specific form of martial arts. It's a
I
collective.
assumed it was a mistake in terms of, not mistake, but in terms of we tend to just say, oh, you know karate, you know kung fu, and they
Ah.
use kung fu as a broad term for all martial arts.
Exactly.
It's
But
kung fu.
if that were the case,
This
they
is
wouldn't
better.
have
What I
started
thought.
with jujitsu.
Yeah. This is
I
a good
thought,
point.
wow,
Very
this
nice.
is amazing. Amazing. Wow. I thought also they went to Kung Fu because it's something everybody will understand. If he says Krav Maga, I learned Ramachan, and people like, what is that?
Gallery.
Kalari Payattu. Show me.
So one more in that scene. You know the green tint and the blue tint. Green
Yeah.
represents the matrix, blue represents, now everyone knows those two filters. There's one more tint in the movie. You know what that is? There's one more tint and it appears in, I think, one scene only.
Oh,
Uh,
tell us.
The
How would-
sparring program has a yellow tint
yellow.
Okay.
because it's neither real nor the matrix.
Ah.
So they throw in a separate tint for that scene because it's a sparring program that resides somewhere in between. So that
But,
has a completely different treatment.
But there are other programs like that, right? The jump program also resides in the
The
mid-30s.
jump has to be as real as the matrix. Otherwise, he'll see through it. In the sparring program, where they are doesn't matter. They have to fight.
Oh, okay.
The
Interesting.
jump has to feel real to him, then only he'll fall.
But what about the city walkway thing where the
Again,
girl
he
red up?
doesn't know that's not the Matrix. Only when he
Yeah.
says freeze after he turns back to see
Yeah.
the red
Oh,
woman.
again, not
Interesting.
in
So
the
it has to be
Matrix.
very realistic. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was,
And that scene again, did you notice that the walking scene was full of twins and triplets? You see that scene? They
Oh.
went and hunted for twins and triplets. Please come, audition, walk. That's it. That's why it's also a little disorienting because you think you're seeing the same person again, but they're actually twins and triplets, identical twins and triplets.
Interesting. It's also an
Something like that.
allegory to how in the rat race everybody is the same, and
Yeah.
This is also part of production, right? In the sense that it's easier to do this than to sit and digitally paint everybody's face to look the same also.
Yeah.
You start getting twins and whatever. Terminator 2 also does this. Terminator 2, when Linda Hamilton, you remember that scene?
Correct.
She's grappling against the barbed wire or whatever, the
Yeah.
chain
Yeah.
sequence, and
Uh-huh.
she's imagining the playground.
Yeah.
And in the playground,
It catches
Sarah
fire.
Connor is playing with her child and the bomb explodes. That's her twin sister. She happens to
Yeah.
have a twin sister. So they just put both of them on both sides. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Why put unnecessary effort?
As opposed to what they did in the second part of Matrix when he's fighting those
where they
hundreds of
had-
agents, where the CGI goes
They
for
had
a bit
to
of a
just
toss.
That
dress
sequence
people up.
is really struggles. That sequence looks super bad because of that. Everything looks rubbery. The fight.
Not enough funds in that movie also.
I think 2 and
Too
3
much
they got
crammed
more money, but they were pushing technology where it was not yet ready. Today you can do
Yeah.
that one. At that
Yeah.
time, the technology had still not figured out how to digital double in that rubbery way,
No, but-
non-rubbery.
But very briefly, I know we didn't want to talk about 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
2, of course, has a few brilliant set pieces, tries to take the story forward, but gets very convoluted beyond a point. I thought 3 was a terrible movie. I hated every moment of it. And it didn't feel like something from the Matrix cinematic universe, for
Yeah,
want of a
because
better
most
word.
of it was just Zion. and
Yeah, that
Data.
war between whatever, those
No one
creatures
knew.
and whatnot going through a black hole,
Separated.
it was just boring. But I thought
The-
Part 4 was a very, very interesting film. And and it was also a bit, I don't know if you've spoken about this, Dodi. It was a bit of an FU from the Wachowskis to Warner Bros.
Yeah, it was.
Who forced them to make a movie that they did not want to make, and they made a movie that was a bit of an FU, but also a bit of a fond goodbye to Neo and that universe.
Correct.
And I thought it was an interesting film. It had 1 or 2 very, very good action sequences, but broadly not really an action film at all. But an interesting.
You can see ways in which things have changed there. Sorry, just 1 second to close out on 2 and 3, which I don't want to talk about a lot more. 2 and 3 also probably the best action sequence where properly money is spent on the highway chase sequence.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's
Those two
nothing
films are
that
fabulous.
comes to beat that even till today. It
That
starts with
must be the single most expensive thing they've done.
and it's a long,
It's long,
fight
yeah.
sequence. It starts off with Neo fighting the guys
Merovingian,
in the
yeah.
right,
Yep,
and then it goes through the ghosts and then the highway chasing. It
Yeah.
just doesn't end. You
Doesn't
get
end.
tired watching
Yeah.
all that action.
Oh yeah, what a brilliant sequence.
That's the greatest sequence of those
The
two
whole
films.
katana
Yeah.
sword slicing that car and then him with the Uzi shooting the car. It
Oh,
was
it-
so well done.
And it has our good friend in it as well, right? What's his name? I forget his name. The guy who's also in John Wick.
Barry. Yeah.
Exactly. The Barry guy, not this
The
Barry.
show Barry, not this Barry, who's in the show Barry in one of the sequences.
We have to Google his name and put it up.
The other agent.
Oh, him. Oh, okay.
That agent who's actually a stuntman.
Yeah,
Right,
what's the name?
right,
Whatever.
right.
Yeah, we
The
have
one who
to.
fights on top of the truck.
Yes.
Yes.
That guy.
One of the agents. Yeah.
Barry's episode where he's the father of this kid that Barry fights with, and he also fights with Barry. It's a full fight sequence episode altogether.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you not watched Barry?
I don't watch series.
Ronnie Lily.
Just
I
watch
burn
this
my
one episode out
hands
of fun.
and face and eyes too much with series. Like it
I'll
never
send
ends
you the
well for
link
me.
to this episode. Just watch this one episode because it's a fight
that,
sequence
yeah.
episode. Entire
Yeah.
episode is just fun. It's
Oh,
one
that you
long-
send, that I'll watch.
with severe comedy with lots of galata. It's
Daniel
just
Bernhardt. Yes.
talking about 4 and their fuck you to capitalism and to art is getting subsumed by all of this. They have literally made that movie already. If you've rewatched Speed Racer by any chance recently, Speed
Yeah,
Racer,
yeah.
exactly that.
Okay.
Speed Racer is about art being fucked over by capitalism. That that Thornton or whatever, the guy who runs the race and explains to him. He says, "What, you think you're driving and you're winning a race? None of that. This is all, we are selling ads here and we are selling like merchandising and everything. All the races are fixed. Nothing is real. Money is coming from that. You think you're doing your dream of, I'm conflating art and racing here. But all of this is there in that. He talks about merchandising, everything. Like the Wachowskis basically say, you guys don't understand art. You only want to sell the next thing that
Yeah.
can be made innovative out of the thing that we've made.
Right.
So it's not about the purity of racing or the purity of the art. It's how many drinks can I sell with your logo on top.
Yeah.
So they go through the entire thing and it's a rejection of all of that. They've already done that in Speed Racer. They brought it back in Matrix Resurrections again.
The work
And
that... Go on.
sorry, the last thing I want to say on 4. Interestingly, you can see the change in time because Neo doesn't once fire a bullet fire a gun in Resurrection.
Which is a choice.
like-
It's a creative choice.
Creative choice of saying.
Actually, it's not like that. Neo's last fired bullet is in the subway fight sequence with Smith, where they both count their bullets and say, "You're empty."
here.
Part 2 and 3, he does not pull a gun because he doesn't need to.
Oh, he doesn't need to.
Okay.
When
Acha.
the
He
time
doesn't
comes,
ever
you
shoot
wouldn't need
after
to
that.
dodge bullets or shoot. Yeah, he just
Oh,
flies.
this is
So he
that,
doesn't ever
yeah,
pull
you
a
don't
gun
need-
after that.
Oh,
So
okay.
he doesn't shoot.
I noticed only in 4, but good point. Maybe in 2 and 3.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Using
he's
his
just
fist.
doing his Superman stuff.
Fair enough.
Very cool.
Fair enough.
Like where the
I see.
Wachowskis went after Matrix, right? I really loved Cloud Atlas, which I watched when it came out, right? And I don't know if you guys watched the movie. It's a...
I think you all watched together only. I
No,
know
no,
your
I think-
brother and I.
Oh, you did? Probably. Yeah. I watched it at home in Bangalore. I remember. I downloaded it and watched it. I don't think
They are the ones who did V for Vendetta also.
They
Right?
did V for Vendetta, which I thought was okay.
He was an assistant director here, right? If you see the credits here, he's an assistant director, whatever that guy's name is.
Okay.
Oh, I thought
Okay.
the Wachowskis directed V for Vendetta. They didn't?
No. He produced.
Or they produced
I
it?
see. Okay. Oh,
And
that's why
it's
the
their
rendition
assistant
looks
director
good.
here. I forgot his name, Rupert something or something with R. I
Ah.
forget.
And then there was this TV series, right? The action with multiple...
Sense8.
Sense8, yeah. Which...
People who are all sharing a consciousness.
Those actors are all part of the cast here.
Yeah, they're in Resurrections. Half those people are in Resurrections.
Yep.
Interesting.
They are going in and out, and now I think they don't
They don't know
specifically
that.
work.
Yeah.
But yeah, you made enough money, and now everything is so going to be compared to Matrix that it's difficult to even like try to get into.
No, also I
Things
think as people, their worldviews have probably changed. They're not thinking
Yeah,
of art the way they were thinking about. They're probably very different people. Like, they've gone through
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, yeah.
incredible things.
they're
And,
not
and, they,
fueled by the same ideas.
and they're clearly
But
I
people
was just
driven by
happy it
conviction,
didn't
right?
suck.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just happy it didn't suck too bad because I went in expecting the worst because we've already been through revolutions.
It was bad.
So there was not a lot to sort of expect after that. In
Yeah.
fact, this is what happened to the movie series. If 3 had delivered, we would have had the greatest trilogy so far.
Yes.
It's the failure of 3 that caused the whole trilogy to get knocked down. Part 2 was not a bad film at all. So in fact, it upped the game from the action
Yeah,
sequence, the
yeah,
concepts. People
absolutely.
eventually wound their heads around the whole what
Yeah.
the architect was trying to say. But I mean, leaving all that out, right? It is the failure of part 3 that killed, which is also the upcoming fate of the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse series. If 3 doesn't deliver, no one will remember part 2.
Yeah.
Correct.
It will be
3
forgotten.
retroactively always fucks too.
True.
Yeah,
So
it
which,
always does that.
Barry, which according to you is the greatest trilogy ever made?
Back to the Future, I guess, for
Oh,
me.
interesting.
It's cool.
I would have
What-
said Lord of the Rings, but it's too obvious a choice, so I had to go with something else.
I'll
But
go
yeah,
for
back to the.
Nolan's Batman, man.
I didn't dig 3 so much. I have very specific reasons, but yeah, for me. this
Because
was-
you could not understand what Ben was speaking. Yeah. The fire is my friend.
I didn't get half the dialogues.
Yeah, good, yeah.
I wanted to talk about the music, right?
Ah.
And circling back to the music in the Matrix, right? I don't think any other piece gives you goosebumps right in the first second of the movie opening. The first second, those trumpets and those chords that you hear with the Warner Brothers logo and things,
Oh,
straight
yes.
goosebumps, and straight you know it's the Matrix.
Yes.
You don't need more than 1 second to guess which movie.
Green
Then
tint
even
is
if
visible already.
blindfolded, put in a room, just play those trumpets and you know it's the Matrix.
Yeah.
And you know what? Each and every one of those notes were scientifically picked and played. Like the trumpets had these two chords that were played on top of each other that were forming a symmetrical real versus unreal sort of, it's like a major and a minor chord coming on top of each other. And there were a lot of like extremely technical things put in the music production for this. So Don Davis, it's like Shekhar Kapoor making Mr. India. That
Wow.
one hit that he gave just surpassed everything in that
Right.
vicinity. Same thing if you take like Hans Zimmer, right? At that time also Hans Zimmer was making music. He just found his groove, he found Nolan, and he had that consistency. But the music production over here makes Hans Zimmer look like a baby. Because there's so much in this, right? Every sound is carefully picked and placed, like the glass sound. So
Yeah.
just to give you an idea, right? When the chord flows in the movie, the start of the movie, and every time the chord flows, you hear this sound and you're wondering what the hell it is, right? He recorded the sound of rain and digitized that sound to give you that falling feel.
Nice.
For bullets, he was actually like, he tied bullet to a rope and swung it around, whirled it in a studio to bring that sounds, which sort of slows down when all those bullet time sequences.
Wow.
That, and there's this big, like, I think someone put a white paper on the technical aspect of this movie's sound production.
You know, the sound that I really remember from this film, there's this one moment where the helicopter crashes into the building and the building, the glass building ripples out. It doesn't crash, it ripples.
Yeah.
And there is this sound, this boom sound that comes out then.
Yeah.
It's something I remember from the first time I watched, and every time that scene comes, I'm looking forward to that sound. So you're right about the sound design. Even for someone who's absolutely not trained in sound or music, right? It really,
and all sound sort of blends in with the music when it comes, right? If there is rain and thunder, and then you actually have a Trinity theme. When he appears with Neo, there's always this one thing that's playing, which also culminates towards the end when she kisses him, right? So there's a build up to just that theme through the film. So that's a thread. There's a Smith theme that plays. There's a Morpheus. So for everyone, he's put together like things, and it just plays so well through the film.
Basically, he was Anibro ahead of his times.
Yeah, and only that one time. Mr. Don Davis did it in this movie and the two other films, but that's it. After that, he went back to doing I don't know what.
Not like Anibro, who's left, right, center. It's interesting you're talking about sound because listeners will note, even in Dune, there's a lot of imaginary new things, new creatures and new vehicles. And there's a lot of effort that goes into Foley, especially when it comes to imaginary sounds. Like Nitin, you were talking about the building rippling.
Yeah.
And that sounded like a building rippling.
Yeah.
But technically, there's no sound.
We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think, Barry, you're more of a sound person in terms of being a musician and all that. But while Nitin and I can't tell the difference between a major and minor chord, like you rightly said, we can feel it. We know the output of what it is. And customers can tell, consumers can tell, media consumers can somewhere tell the difference, even if they can't actually articulate it. You can tell when there's bad sound and good sound.
And effectively, music is what you feel, right? In any case, it has to evoke the right emotion that the scene produces, right? So it is a combination.
Yep. I wanted to talk a little bit about the opening. Like you said, the trumpet start, the music kicks in. And imagine any other movie that's as complicated as this.
Yeah.
Okay. This movie has no opening scroll with an explanation of what happened, which year it is, what's going on.
Nothing.
They just throw you in, right?
Yeah.
You have the digital rain, okay, something's happening. Then she's on that call, somebody comes, cops come running in, your men are already dead.
Yeah.
Then she does that crane kick. She does the crane kick, camera stops. First of all, the crane kick itself, they're just doing that kick. What the fuck is going on? Then the camera stops and goes around her. What the fuck?
What the heck?
Then fight scene.
And then she starts running.
Yeah. And to not have a scroll, you can very easily imagine a movie like this, somebody saying, please put one starting thing with one note saying it's the year 2199 or it's something or the machines have taken over.
People think it is 1999, but it is closer to 2199, literally.
Yeah. but they're just like, no, trust us. We know what we're doing. We will give you all of these clues. We will tell you something is off. You, by the way, never see anybody going through the phone until the end.
When
Morpheus is the
Morpheus.
first person who you see
Correct.
actually
Actually going
Yeah.
in.
disappear. Every time you pick up the phone and then they're on the other side. It's
Yeah.
only Morpheus in the phone booth in that subway station where you see him disappearing. You know what it looks like.
Correct.
So it's
Yeah.
like, you don't need to know. You follow us on this story. We will show you. You don't even see the Nebuchadnezzar until he wakes up in it.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. There is no.
They pick up the phone, she disappears. We don't know where she's going.
There is no establishing shot even for Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's until he wakes up, which is whatever, 40 minutes into the
And
movie.
what
By
I
that time,
loved
they have come
about
and gone multiple times.
what I
But
loved
they're not.
about the whole story that was written, the Wachowskis knew everything. They knew a backstory that dated all the way back to whenever AI was born and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah, yeah.
down to Cypher's a bad guy. So right from the first scene, I'm giving you hints that Cypher's up to no good. We'll
Yeah.
never catch it through our first watch, second watch, and all that. Then you're like, hey, this dude's talking to Trinity in this scene,
Yeah.
and she says, I think this line is being traced.
Correct.
Right? And he says, no, nothing, it's fine. So
Yeah.
he's the one who sets her up in that first scene, which is why we get to see the great train kick.
Correct.
Thank
Yes.
you, Cypher, for that.
Correct.
Everything is very well planned and very confident in its storytelling. A lesser this thing would want to explain everything up front so that either them
Completely
or
agree.
they will always force.
And these were the things that I thought completely fall apart in parts 2 and 3 with new characters coming in without sufficient anchoring, like Niobe, for instance, right? The character is not built as strongly as even someone as fleeting as, say, a Switch or a Epoch or whoever in this film. And yeah, I think that's
You still remember the first movie characters a lot more than the others.
Yeah, because after
But
that,
not so much Epoch, right? Like, what
yeah,
do you
not so
remember
much.
about him?
Yeah, but at least Switch
Right?
and Cypher.
You know Switch only because she was the other very cool, like visually cool, well-dressed woman in the...
But Switch, Cypher, and Tank, who is the programmer, right?
Yeah.
They all are they're small roles, but you'll remember them. They're well
solid
etched.
roles.
I want to do a little quick quiz since we have people
Dodi is
here
in
who are
cooking zone these days. Go for it.
zone. Okay. As a small break before we talk a little bit more about the movie. What's his employer's name? What's the company's name?
No idea.
I knew this. I don't
Okay.
remember.
It's called
Something starting with C.
Metacortex.
Meta.
Metacortex. So it's also brain
Metacortex.
Oh, brain
related.
related.
Yeah.
Cognition versus other thing. When Switch yells at him in the car, saying "my way or the highway," she also calls him a copper top. What does she mean? Let's throw this copper top out the car. Something like that is what she says.
Yeah. Yeah, I never looked at
Copper
that.
top.
That's what she says to him.
What is a copper top? Is that your brain has
I
been
think
muddled
she's
by
talking about...
You're getting there? Yes?
your brain has been muddled up by the influence of AI tech. So you're a
No, a copper top is basically a battery. The top of the,
okay, right.
He's just saying you're a battery. You don't even know. I think you're a battery. So she's dismissively referring to him as a battery.
Yeah.
Yes. What year was the Nebuchadnezzar made? We see the logo.
2069.
Hey, come on. Made in USA in 2069. What's the name of the hotel where everything is the action
Talk of the
happens in
town.
the beginning?
Talk of the town.
Heart of the city. Heart or the city?
Heart of the
So
city.
I had the real question that I was going to ask is, how does Smith know where he needs to be to shoot Neo? Like, the other two agents are chasing him, right? And he opens the door that only he seems to know when he's on the phone with Tank. He opens the door and Smith's waiting for him and shoots him.
No, yeah.
He doesn't have to follow, no? He just has to teleport into another human being over there.
Yeah, no, but he has to know which room. That's
How
what
does he
Barry
know
said.
which room to be in?
Because there's so many
Waiting
rooms
for
in that
Neo.
house.
He's standing there with his gun.
He's
There
literally
is
in
a
the right.
number funda to this. Tell us that.
343 is the room number.
This
That's
also
all.
we have to thank Cypher, because in the very opening scene where Trinity is in the same hotel, in the same room 303, it's the same phone. So he
Cypher's
knows
already
which phone,
told you
because
which
that
hardline.
first scene also, and the scene when they're chasing him, you can see the hotel signboard being panned down on, and they show Smith standing and looking at the hotel. He's like, wait, I know this place.
Yeah.
I
So
know
I know
where she
where
was
the
trying to
hardline
get out of. So I'm going to
I'm
go
good for
stand in front of the phone now.
They shouldn't have
I
used
know.
the same getaway plan though. Given
Yeah,
like, it was
technically they should
almost
not
It was
use,
the
knowing that it
nearest.
was happened.
It was the
emergency.
nearest.
They had no choice, I guess. At some point, they put in a password into what is the Matrix.
I don't know.
I don't remember which scene this is, somewhere near the end only, because I wrote it after 303.
Oh, they type a password out, is it?
Yes. What's the password they type out into the Matrix? I think it says the username is what is the Matrix, or I don't know. It's some Matrix password. Now I forgot what scene it was. Apologies to our listeners. But what's the password? Password is related, by the way, to something that happens in the movie. Cypher only must have set up the password.
Oh, then
It's steak.
Okay.
STEAK.
I thought of steak.
The password is steak.
That's
very
so
nice.
cool, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Hello,
So he
really
must have-
crazy about his steak.
Cool.
When employees leave, you should redo all your passwords. This is why.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
somebody else will come and put steak and then take over.
So this scene in the subway when they're going to fight,
Hmm.
the two of them are standing off,
Yeah.
and there's a piece of paper that's flying.
Yeah.
So first they show the shot from behind Smith, and then they showed the shot from behind Neo.
Right,
And the
yeah.
continuity of the paper flying is. So I was like, where did they hide the camera
Yeah, the
so
camera.
well that on the
Yeah.
opposite side you're not seeing it?
Ah.
And then they run and jump at each other and they spin around. And you're like, wait, this scene is filled with cameras.
Yeah, there's no
There are like 120 of them, and you don't see any of them fire.
Post
But you can
telepathic.
tell. Yeah, correct. This biggest problem of all time. Everybody tries to fix shit in post and it doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Because I initially thought, it was two shots separately, and then they just used
Yeah.
the paper well, but it was all like one gigantically
Yeah.
massive take. So, did you notice how like Morpheus and Trinity are always using references only from Alice in Wonderland? But Cypher uses references from only Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
So Alice in Wonderland, I didn't know this from the book, but the entire story is a dream. She wakes up, nothing is real. Like she dreams the whole thing, the whole rabbit and everything.
Yeah.
So that is his reference when he says, okay, you can go back to believing what you think is real. Whereas in Wizard of Oz, she's not given a choice. That tornado or cyclone comes, lifts the thing and tosses her into
Oh, interesting.
that is what he feels. So
He
Cypher
feels
feels
like
that
he's-
he was
he-
ripped out of his home and tossed into something that he doesn't want to be part of.
Took the wrong
That's why
pill.
he holds that grudge for
Yeah.
9 years and then
I
finally
didn't
says,
have a
okay, you know what?
choice.
I need steak and wine. I can't do this goop anymore.
Yeah. I'm
By
happy
the way,
being ignorant. Ignorance is
Comment
bliss.
on the goop, right, where they talk about food and how
Yeah.
they, in passing,
My
mention
favorite.
how all the chicken tastes the same, all the chicken tastes like shit.
No, why everything tastes like chicken?
Why everything tastes like chicken? Correct, that's right. Which again, sort of foreshadowing, factory produced food, which wasn't really the case when the movie came, but it's now like
Correct.
de rigueur everywhere.
Yeah.
Tell me this, Barry, and I think this has been brought up. So if Cypher has been going back and forth to meet with Smith, who's his operator? Is this the only hole in the movie? You need someone
No,
to
I
operate.
think you can put a timer and get out, right?
Oh,
When
interesting.
everyone is
They've
sleeping.
always said everybody needs an operator. We've never seen anyone go without an operator.
You probably only need an operator to be safe from agents. If you're going to meet agents and you're a double agent, then you actually don't need an operator. because they're not going to catch you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't thought about this, but I don't think other than that one scene where he's eating steak with
Yeah.
Smith, he's gone alone, right?
Yeah.
That's the only scene. And before that, all the information that he gives them is just
have been
wire
passed.
transfers.
Could
In
be
fact,
wire.
I think he is giving information out when Neos comes and stands next to him and they have a drink,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
time he's like, so he switches off the monitors.
He
Right?
he gets
So
shocked.
that's
and
his-
He's up to
Yeah.
something
So
shady
I-
at that time. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think this meeting was set up by the agents. So they've probably provisioned a way to get in and get out quickly, right?
Fair enough. That's the only logical explanation.
That's the only logic, yeah.
Because
In fact,
otherwise
there
you'll
is
be
another-
seen lying down in one thing and where are you and what are you doing? Like you'll
But
be asked.
if you're doing it when everybody is sleeping in the night, yeah, but fair enough.
Yeah.
It's not really a plot hole per se, but
No,
yeah,
The
you can
operator
see-
I thought was a plot hole because the way they've explained it, he says, "I'll be your operator."
But only for safety.
You
No,
No.
like
turn on the
you
switch.
literally-
Oh, hang on.
why would you need an
There is
operator?
Because the
also,
call has to come. You have to get a call and you have to be pulled in. That switch has to pull you back.
yeah,
Otherwise, you can always answer the phone and come back wherever. At least we've not
wherever
seen
you are.
it.
Call
That's
point is
correct.
valid. Yeah.
Yeah. Because for a second I thought mouse, because he designs the woman in red, and I'm sure he was having like
Oh, he could
digital
have told
pin.
Mouse, "I'm going for sex." It's possible. Mouse,
Yeah,
the digital pimp.
mouse
But
is
then Mouse will
someone
be able to
who
see what's
digital
happening.
pimp
Kinky
hard at
bugger.
work.
Kinky bugger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pinky Burger.
Yeah,
But Mouse would have had to set up the woman or whatever. I don't think Mouse works.
I don't think.
Mouse will
No,
know
but I
that.
was wondering how mouse was going in and out, right? He needed to be digital pimp hard at work. So how's he doing it?
No, but he's doing it. No, everybody knows he's doing
Knowingly.
it, so
Okay.
he's there.
Yeah.
So you
What a
can say that.
discussion, man.
How did mouse do
Like
it?
people who have watched Matrix 100 times will be listening to us and wondering, wait, are they still talking about Matrix? What is mouse?
How does the oracle predict?
Hmm.
Why can the oracle predict? It is the only thing that sort of breaks the otherwise fully explained universe
but
of the Matrix. Why
it
is
is-
she able to predict?
It is a deeply metaphysical religious film. So the existence of an oracle doesn't have to be explained.
No, not that way. If
Huh.
you see, everything in the Matrix is fully explained other than the oracle's ability to predict. Everything else is explained, right? The science, the gravity, the breaking of the rules, why why is
Yeah.
Neo able to be
All
faster than
mechanical.
Oh, you're right. But
There's some still magical power in the world, and she is
Exactly.
able to everything.
Yeah.
That's all. I never thought about it more than that, unless you have a different explanation.
No,
See, the
my
movie-
thoughts are very clear, right? Today, what do we do with AI? What do we get it to do?
Hmm.
We give it past data and say predict the next.
Say go, yeah.
oh, you're saying she is an
And it's
AI.
able to accurately, right? To a decent extent. She is also using her history of being the mother of the Matrix to reasonably accurately say, okay, this is what's going to happen. She makes him drop the vase because she
Yeah.
knows any human standing there, if I tell them about the vase, the chances
Yeah,
are 95% that they will turn around and knock the vase out. How do we catch a ball? You like cricket? No. How they take a catch?
By throwing it.
You
Yeah.
predict the location of the
Okay,
ball and
yeah.
catch it, right? That science tells you that, and your experience with catching a ball tells you that. Now, if you put this in the digital front, she knows it, like,
And knowing
not
that she is the
natural.
mother of the Matrix.
And
Fair.
then she plays games, okay? Then she plays all mind tricks.
Yeah.
Like, you will fall in love with him, you will not be the one.
Yeah.
Then it's all like telling them things that will get them to where she needs them to go.
Yeah. Dude, this is all reminding me of our Dune episode, because there also there's the person who's making a prophecy, and the prophecy is all a story and all of that. But yeah. But yeah, idea of Messiah and all of that, again, coming back to what you said earlier, is not a new thing. In terms of storytelling, these things are there. It's just
In
put
fact,
into
I wanted to collate
tech world.
a list of all movies where the chosen one, the one concept drives the center of. You have everything from Kung Fu Panda to Lord of the Rings to
Shang-Chi.
so many, right? That
Yeah,
where
it's
this,
so-
and they don't even use like a
Doctor
different phrase.
Strange.
It is chosen one, right?
Yeah,
It's
chosen
the
one.
the chosen one. It's only here they said, okay, we'll take the anagram of
Neo.
one and make it Neo and give him a different name, but it's
But that's
all-
a simple enough archetype to understand also.
It
You
is,
don't
it
want to, certain things are so straightforward that you don't want to over explain or overdo. You can play around with the way in which you do it.
Correct.
But chosen one is it's so like clear.
There are only 7
And-
stories, no? Every story is
Yeah,
a
yeah, that's
derivative of one of the 7 story archetypes.
Correct.
So,
Works with the idea of a hero. You need one person who you can cheer behind and who you can follow and all of that.
Yeah. There is this one scene.
Hmm.
I need guns, lots of guns.
Yeah.
And after that, Trinity says, no one has ever done anything like this. And Neo says, that's why it's going to work. And everyone cheered in the
Yeah.
theater because it was a punch dialogue. For
Yes.
most people, it was a punch dialogue. That's how they saw it, right? That's why it's going to work. You can practically imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger saying it in some movies in the
Yeah.
late 80s. But the sort of did you like have another aspect to this other than it being a punch dialogue? Because in this movie, dialogues are not placed just for fun.
yeah, I never
And
thought
you know
about
what that is? This is a DDoS attack in sense, right? Because he's a
Ah.
hacker.
Yes.
That's what he's doing, right? Take the vulnerability and hit there, but hit it hard. Hit it
Yeah.
hard and bring it down, right? And he's a hacker, so he knows that thought process. So again, that line, was not just punch dialogue, but all the whistles happened. So
Yeah.
Where a range.
doubly paisa vasool. What is the Mr. Miyagi reference in the scene after he wakes up as the one? And
After the kiss.
after the kiss.
After the kiss, after the fight.
After he wakes up as the one in the Matrix.
Okay.
He's shot and everything, and then he gets up, right? After that, there is one Karate Kid.
Wax on, wax off. I don't know. I can
No,
only remember.
Smith comes running and starts throwing random punches. Have you seen Neo's blocks? They're all wax on, wax off
Oh,
blocks.
wax on, wax off.
So the
that-
choreographer, your man, right? He threw it in as a tribute.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
That was
okay.
choreographed based on wax on, wax off moves.
Oh,
Nice.
amazing. That is a great note to finish.
So that was our episode on The Matrix. Matrix was, what was the second movie called? Reloaded. There was Evolution, there was a Resurrection, and today the Intermission has revisited The Matrix. Hope you enjoyed. This was just our way of paying tribute to one of the greatest movies ever made, and 25 years seems like a perfect time to look back at what makes that movie so cool, what still keeps it so cool, and the impact it's had on the industry. Special thanks to Barry for joining us today. Barry, before we go, can you quickly shout out your podcast and your site again? So
the podcast is called The Film Exploder, where we take apart a film a week and put it back together with layers of analysis thrown in. And the site is thisisbarry.com, and I have no idea why I chose to put a name in there. It was the hardest work for SEO because it had nothing to do with films. But this is where I explain sort of mind-bending movies, mindfuck movies. And The Matrix for a long time was one of those movies that I ranked for until Google decided to say, okay, enough.
Wow. Okay.
tech does not want you to.
Yeah, we have big companies to serve. What will the magazine companies do if you rank? So, yeah.
Anyway.
So no
But
longer
yes,
fun.
listeners, please check out Barry's site. Listen to the podcast. It's super fun. I've listened to every episode so far. Short, sweet, quick, and a really good in-depth look at mindfuck movies. Apart from that, what else? Nitin, you have anything to plug?
Me and my friend Tony Sebastian have recently launched a new podcast. It's called Leftover Lasagna. It has nothing to do with movies or with cricket. It's us generally having a good time, trying to peel layers of topics of our choice once a week. Do check it out wherever you listen to or watch podcasts.
Super fun. I've been listening to every episode of that as well. Please check out Leftover Lasagna. But everybody, please go watch The Matrix. Never a bad idea to rewatch The Matrix. Super fun.
Never. Once a month is a good frequency.
Good clip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's never been as relevant as it is today. So, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. The usual, write to us at yointermission@gmail.com or reach out to us, yointermission, on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Like, review, subscribe. Please, if you haven't realized, we've been doing this on YouTube for the last few episodes. So if you want to watch us, not that.
The bell icon.
Yes, hit the bell icon. Please check out our
Smash
channel
that
on
subscribe
YouTube.
button.
Smash the subscribe button. Yes, everybody knows all the keywords.
Yeah.
And share with your friends, and hope to see you soon. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Barry.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.